Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Katie, I'm from ZBD. I'm the social media manager, so definitely come over and say hello. You might have seen me around before. Same with these guys on the panel. Afterwards, please come up to them, talk about the projects that they're working on. They have a lot of interesting things to have conversations about, so definitely reach out to them after this. But we'll also have a question portion at the end as well too. So this is going to be a little bit more casual on this panel. So we're just going to start out with some introductions. So if you want to, we'll start.
Okay, cool. I'm Austin. I work at Pleb Lab along with these other guys. I showed up about a year and a half ago to Austin, hoping, for the hopes of the Wild West and better developers and people focused on Bitcoin, and definitely found it.
He found us.
Yeah, so disappointing result, but no, really, it's been great. I just showed up a year and a half, super new developer, wanted to level up my skills on Bitcoin, Lightning development, and I found that in Pleb Lab, and now I'm working on education stuff out of Pleb Lab called Pleb Devs, just mainly focused on new developers, people learning how to code for the first time, so that's kind of my bag, my passion.
How's it going? My name is Francisco Chavarria. I am the founder of Yopaki, and my journey into Pleb Lab in Austin is really interesting. We are building an application basically that will serve the entire country of Mexico for remittances as an exchange, and then we're adding layers to onboard millions of people. And getting into Austin was somewhat accidental too, but I wanted to be around Bitcoiners. This happened 2 years ago. I met Carr at a Austin Bitcoin Club, and that conversation developed into working around some of the most talented engineers in the industry. So pretty pumped to be around builders.
Hi, my name is Topher Scott. I'm the CTO of BitEscrow. We're looking to make a non-custodial escrow platform on the base layer that's cheaper, better, faster, without making any compromises whatsoever. I'm also a resident at Pleb Lab. I've worked on quite a few projects there, including the Lightning Door and Lightning Box. I like to contribute to open source, though I really just write my own stuff and I release it as open source, so I have a few libraries floating around out there. I get to hang out with a bunch of great people, like the people you see here every single day, so I feel that I'm blessed.
My name is Testnet, and I am a free and open source software developer. I do freelance software stuff occasionally, but normally I just hang out at Pleb Lab and write free code and make it available. Every day I get to go into Pleb Lab and be like, what would I like to see as free and open source software today? And then I go and try and make that thing, and usually I can't, and I get bored, and then I stop working on it. But sometimes I finish it, and I release it, and then it becomes a thing. So, things happen.
We'll go back around this way too. We may have a lot of people in the audience who want to get started in developing something that they're passionate about. So we wanted to start out and ask, what was your first project, and then also maybe your favorite project? If you want to give a little bit more information about those and why it interested you and how that process looked like.
The first project I made was probably implementing payment support for a church. There's a church that I went to, and I was involved in a charity organization there, and they really liked me, and I really liked Bitcoin, so they gave me permission to add Bitcoin to their website and let people make donations. To this day, 0 people have contributed to that website, but it supports it. You can just pay with Bitcoin and Lightning, so that's nice. That was my first project.
First Bitcoin project or just first project?
First project that you got started developing on, and even your first Bitcoin project.
Okay. Because I kind of wanted to start with my first shitcoin project, which was it was actually a project to bridge OpenAuth with Ethereum, and going through that process made me realize just how broken Ethereum is. Essentially, it was calling an API endpoint that told me what the blockchain said, and it's like me and 5 million other people use this endpoint. They even boast about it on their website, how many developers use this endpoint, even though it was completely ridiculous. It wasn't decentralized at all. So my first Bitcoin project was like a Discord bot that tried to use Lightning. But then I found out that there was this really cool project called DiscoPay. It kind of beat me to it. But that was not my first project that got my feet wet. Yeah.
I'm not a technical person, but as a non-technical founder, what I can share is if there is something in your life, whether it's a hobby or a passion, and you're a Bitcoiner and you want to build it, you have to be around Bitcoiners because you will find a way, whether it's through advice, whether it's through the learning experience, to build. So this is my first build, although I'm not actually coding it, but yeah, I would just say, if you have an idea, you have to find a way to connect with Bitcoiners to help you build it.
Yeah, I guess my first one was kind of interesting because before I knew how to code, I kind of had this idea of something I wanted to build, this big out there idea. I wanted to build like an app that would let me take all of my social media data and download it, put it into one place, and be able to explore it, and eventually like delete my social media accounts. And so I had this idea. I remember I wrote it on my dresser, and was just learning how to code. And literally like 3 years later, I built the first version of it. It was called FB Explorer. And then I built the next version of it. That was only Facebook. That was called Reclaim. And it was really like, it meant a lot to me. And I got like maybe 10 users, like my first app. It meant the whole world. And then after I built it, I realized that like, I don't want to solve this problem. I learned a lot. Like, this is a really big problem. I don't want to solve this. I actually just I want to learn Bitcoin development. And so I stopped being distracted and moved on from there. So that was my first project, and I guess you said like favorite as well. There's a lot of little example projects I do, and thinking back this year, one of the favorites I did is called Pleb Post, Pleb-Post. It's on my GitHub, and it's just a simple example app for building your first Lightning full stack app, where I just try and boil it down and make it as simple as possible. And the coolest thing for me is when people copy my code. And so a bunch of people have copied that project, and I see it on their GitHubs, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's super cool to see. Next question is, what is your preferred tech stack?
I typically use JavaScript. I use Node.js for any backend stuff I might have to do. Typically, I don't even have a backend. Most of my projects just have a front end written in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if they need to store any data, which many of them don't, I will use the Nostr protocol to store that with minimal amounts of data and then retrieve them, like usernames and stuff. So that's the typical tech stack: is Nostr as a quasi backend, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as a front end.
I was going to say, I feel like your tech stack is index.html. My tech stack is essentially, I really like this platform called Vercel. They offer this thing called serverless architecture, which is like, imagine running a server where there's no state. So your server actually doesn't exist until somebody calls an endpoint, and then it just magically spins up and disappears again. So it's very lightweight. It's so lightweight that Vercel is very generous with their accounts. You can do so much with just a free account. And so my stack ends up being a combination of TypeScript, Next.js, which is like a version of React, and then for a database, either Mongo or Postgres. And I really, really enjoy, just a couple of libraries I really enjoy. Zod, if anybody's heard of Zod. It's like runtime type checking that's also compatible in the browser, which is amazing. And that's pretty much it. That's like my go-to. And then all like this stuff, all my personal libraries and stuff. Oh, and shout out to Paul Miller for the Noble library. He does a lot of the SecD256K1 stuff for JavaScript, and he has a lot of other really cool stuff as well.
Yeah, mainly JavaScript. I guess we're pretty reckless. We like to move fast and break things in Pleb Lab.
JavaScript degens up here.
Yeah, I'm learning Rust right now, so hopefully we'll be writing better code soon. But something I'll mention that I've seen in someone else, we have a guy on Pleb Lab. should I dox him? I don't know, BTC Retriever, who he has just started learning how to code probably 6 months ago. And it's really cool because he's learning very fast, and he's getting to take like the best practices and the advice from us. And something something he built really early on he was using Expo React Native, which Expo is a way to make a React Native app. So just a simple React JavaScript app. It's a way to build it for web, for Android, and for iOS, just needing to know React, right? And it gives you these very powerful tools. So it really empowered him. And so combining that with just Ellen bits running on Voltage, you have your own node, you have your own kind of wallet interface for it. And he was able, like for his first kind of little messing around React Native app, he was able to build a mobile app that's a little Lightning wallet. And I thought that was so cool. It's like, dude, that took me years and years to do it, and you're able to do it in your first 6 months now. And I think that's cool just because it shows the kind of leverage that we have now as developers within the last year, within the last 6 months. Like the libraries, the tools are really improving, so you can do a lot with a little.
So let's take it back just a little bit. I'd like to hear a brief origin story of how you got into Bitcoin, and then also what was that turning point that made you want to start building on Bitcoin?
I first heard about Bitcoin in 2010 when Satoshi was, well, actually I Googled it. I Googled digital currency and like internet money because I was trying to find if anyone on the internet had come up with a solution to having terrible people in charge of our money. And Bitcoin came up in the search results. So I started reading about it and thought it was interesting. But I didn't get started developing until 2017 when I'd been making websites for a long time at that point, like since before high school. And it became very easy to take the skills that I learned making websites and turn them into packaged applications for like phones and stuff. So I used some of those tools to make my first applications, and then almost immediately, like the very next year, I was like, I want to learn how to do Bitcoin stuff. So I started following guides on how to program with the Lightning Network, which was just coming out at the time, and it was great.
So I first heard about Bitcoin also around the same time, around 2010. I was really interested in peer-to-peer networking and decentralized protocols. I would frequent this subreddit called Darknet where they talked a lot about this stuff. I was into like hacking routers with custom firmware, seeing like how far you can take it to like build your own network infrastructure off the grid. And then Bitcoin, which like started coming up, like it really didn't cross with that community too much. But I did hear about it, and like later on, I guess 2011, 2012, I really started paying attention to it, mainly because of all the drama. There was a whole lot of drama back then, you have no idea. And so I just continued to follow it. I didn't really follow all the Twitter beef. I mainly stuck to the Bitcoin Talk forums and the Bitcoin Reddit, which was also pretty lit. And I just followed it from there. I tried to run my own miner on my GPU, and it just seemed like a pain in the ass, and I was like, screw this. I also tried to buy Bitcoin on Mt. Gox when it was still new, and they wanted me to like send some sort of payment wire, and I was like, how the hell do you even do this? I'm too young for this. So I just kind of gave up on it. You know, famous like I missed out story. But I came back to it later on, like in 2016, 2017, when it was like having its resurgence, and I just stuck with it ever since.
Origin story is backwards to what we're used to. So instead of me trying to orange pill my dad, in 2012, my dad started telling me, hey, there's this thing I keep reading about. He's kind of a cyberpunk, libertarian personality. It's called Bitcoin. And the first thing I said, just stop. You're getting scammed. You're probably gonna get some sort of, you know, Nigerian email scam. So just stop. 6 months go by and same thing. Hey son, I really need you to look into it. Please help me out. You're more tech savvy, so I think you should get on this train with me. Same thing. So a whole year went by. He said, okay, fine. If you're not gonna do it, that's fine, but help me get some. So I did, and we got a little. And over time, I started following, all the Bitcoiners that at the time were sharing all the information. And yeah, I mean, I did go through the SharePoint stage too, unfortunately, got wrecked, and that's how, you know, evolved into Bitcoin Maxi. During that time, then as far as first build out, again, I don't develop, but I did help 3 different startups develop a go-to-market strategy to enter Latin America, and eventually I got sick of it and I thought, we need something like this, but for Bitcoin, and if I could do it with the experience I have, let's build it. So that's the journey.
You know, it's funny, I hang out with these guys every day. I've never asked them this question, so I'm like, I'm hearing some of this for the first time. To make a really long story short, I definitely wasn't lined up to find Bitcoin. I wasn't into tech. I dropped out of high school actually to play music. I was really into metal and hardcore. And that's really all I cared about in the whole world. I didn't really think about anything else until I was like 23, 24, was working in fast food, and was really just like, I want to find, something that's for me, but something that also doesn't feel like I'm selling out to the man. And I heard the word Bitcoin at work, at my job at Jimmy John's, and my friend was like, my brother's making a bunch of money mining Bitcoin. And I was like, what does that mean? He was like, I don't know. And so it just kind of instantly caught my interest. And so I went home and I YouTubed what was Bitcoin mining. Me and a friend, we put our part of our college savings that we weren't using together, and we bought an S9 like a month later. That was in 2017. And the S9 ran for like 4 months and then it broke. And so that's kind of how I got started. I just started stacking from there. I was listening to podcasts at work, and after a few years decided like, okay, I want to stop being on the sidelines. How can I start to participate? And that's when I wanted to learn how to code and started looking for the builders in the space and trying to follow them and see what I could learn from them.
Awesome. What piece of advice do you guys have for devs trying to start building in this space? Tips, where to go for more education?
Well, what? Where can we go for tips and education?
Advice for anyone maybe in the audience or watching on the live stream where how to get started.
He and he made a course called the PlebLab course, right? That's what it's called. Yeah. So go to PlebLab.com and click courses, and you'll find a little course we made, and that's where I would go for starters. And we're releasing new ones. So we released a Nostr development course since then. I think they're filming Pleb Devs 2. But it's designed to take you from never having coded before at all. You've done zero coding, don't even know what development environment is, and it takes you all the way from there to building your first Lightning wallet. And so you should take that. If you want to learn how to code, go to pleblab.com, click courses.
Any other advice you might have?
Yeah, besides shilling your own wares.
No, that's why we have a panel. Other people have advice. That was mine.
All right, well, I'm also going to shill it. You should check out the Pleb Dev course. It really is designed to take you from zero to hero at mining. So, do you go over Polar in the Pleb Dev course at all?
The second one.
The second one?
The first
Yeah.
one is only front end and Ellen bits, right?
Okay, so outside the Pleb Dev course, Polar. That's really all I have to say is just check out Polar. Polar will solve all your problems with Lightning development. And then from Polar, and then from there you can upgrade to Voltage. They should give you some free credit, and then if you continue not to pay, I don't think they shut your node down. So you just can see how long you can ride that out. Shout out to Voltage. Also, what else? Like Polar, Voltage, Bitcoin Core just by itself is a pretty amazing tool. I use it for development. Just don't underestimate the power of a rich test node. You can do so much with it. And then outside of that, I can show my own stuff. I have a TabScript library that's really easy to use in JavaScript, and it's also written in TypeScript. But there's also Bitcoin.js as well. I feel like there's a lot of cool tools that you can use now that weren't available before. So yeah, for Bitcoin development, Bitcoin Core, Polar, and also there's a tool called BTC Dev, which is really great for like debugging scripts. Also, there's an online version at a website called ScriptWiz. That one's really good. What else? And then for the Lightning side, yeah, like Polar also has your back there. Ellen Bits. God, I hate Ellen Bits, but I love Ellen Bits because it's so great. Yeah, it has a great API. It's somehow still kind of like the only real solution of running a Lightning node with an accounting system. It's still like really the best place to go if you want to run a Lightning node for you and your friends and like spin up some sort of Lightning business or try out a Lightning business model where you're kind of like an LSP and you have accounts. Ellenbits is still great for that. They have this free server called Legends Ellenbits that may be up or down as the tide comes in and out, but it's still great for development.
Depends on the moon phase.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's actually a lot of great tooling out there now, and there's more coming out too. So I'm eagerly waiting that Pleb Dev 2 course to kind of bring. I feel like it'll bring everyone up to speed on like what's the latest and greatest in tooling. In fact, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, I won't show the course, but you know Well, definitely, yeah, the first course was like my goal. Like, I love the beginner coders. I love trying to simplify things and take my hard-fought lessons and put them into some kind of format. So the first Pleb Dev course is kind of like part one of that, front end, and right now I'm filming the second one, which is the back end. You know, we're gonna host our own Lightning node, we're gonna talk to our node, we're gonna host a server and a database. But we're all going to do it in kind of the most simple way that will teach you the most concepts along the way that you can build on top of. So that's definitely my goal with that. I guess general advice, like they gave all of my favorite tools, libraries and stuff like that, but I would say, you know, early on figure out if you're more interested in protocol development or if you're more interested in app development on Bitcoin. And then find the people to reach out to for that. Like if you're interested in protocol, go find Nifty. Check out her classes, go ask her questions. She'd love to help you. You can find me on Bitcoin Pleb Dev on Twitter and Nostr, and you can just bug me all day if you're trying to learn how to code. I'd love to talk to you and help you. And so those are people to reach out to, and I would just say, yeah, in general, you figure out that high-level path. Am I more interested in the apps? Am I more interested in the protocol? And you take it from there. And apps are definitely my specialty, and I would say from there, you know, you just start simple. Build a button, build a page, maybe you build a server, and then once you have those fundamental kind of web dev skills down, start to talk to your node. Start to learn how to talk to your Bitcoin node, your Lightning node, because that's when the power of the protocol is kind of unlocked for you. And that was a big barrier for me to overcome, was finally being able to interact with Bitcoin and Lightning with my own code, to move money with my own code. And that's the real exciting moment, but on the app side, you have some upfront work you got to do before you get there. Same thing with the protocol side as well, but you can definitely jump in and get your hands dirty with some Bitcoin stuff a lot quicker. So another thing I would say, I wish I would have done this earlier. Start building in public and sharing your story as soon as possible. It's intimidating, but you know, people like me, we want to help you out, we want to see you. You'll give yourself a huge edge and you'll iterate faster because people are going to give you help, they're going to give you tips, and they're going to admire you if you were actually building in public. And so I wish I had done that sooner. That's what I tell everyone that asks me for advice, is going through the course or anything like that.
I have one last show.
I think that's it, yeah.
I can't believe I forgot this. Buy Jimmy Song's book, Programming Bitcoin. Especially if you're interested in the protocol. You pretty much build a Bitcoin node from scratch, and it's not as intimidating as you think. All the code is pretty much available to you. He just kind of helps you complete it. He walks you through everything. The book also comes with a GitHub repository full of Jupyter notebooks, which they're all amazing. So like if you really want to level up really fast, especially with Bitcoin Core, and Programming Bitcoin Jimmy Song, get it now.
What's a Jupyter notebook?
What's a Jupyter notebook? Yeah, so Jupyter notebooks are amazing. And it's kind of incredible to me they haven't really been replicated, or at least not become more popular in other languages, because it's more specific for Python. But it sort of like marries a markdown document with code. So imagine you have like your typical markdown document, and even in markdown you can kind of do like the little backticks to like, oh, this is where I put my code. Well, imagine with the Jupyter Notebook, you can then click run and that code actually runs. And then you get like a console output.
It's in your browser, yeah.
Yeah, it runs in your browser too, as well. And they have like hosted versions, so like you can run your own, or like there'll be some other organizations that'll host it for you, and somebody can give you a Jupyter Notebook that's already pre-filled out. And so it's just kind of like a playground where you can see these code examples and you can actually interact with them and change the code and run it and see what happens.
You can run it in steps too, right? Like you run in steps.
Yeah, each one is like,
How about you explain what you did?
I love them. I'm a maximalist. And what I thought was cool, I was like, I did a bunch of really crazy data science.
Hey guys, I'm Jim. I'm at Pleb Lab too. I do a lot of crazy data science stuff in the corporate world. And I had a bunch of like normies that there's no way that they were going to understand how the code works. But I had a bunch of like graphs and stuff that were interactive that I could just send it to HTML and then send it to them in email. They could run it. So that's really cool about Jupyter Notebooks. So
Yeah, they should be called Jupyter Notebooks, 'cause Jim loves them. Do you have anything, Francis? No?
We can open it to questions out in the audience, so if you have a question for the guys at Pleb Lab, maybe?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you guys really get along in real life, or is it just on panels?
The question was, do we get along in real life, or is it just on panels? It's like a party every day in Pleb Lab, and yeah, we absolutely do. We have birthday parties for each other. We go out to eat whenever this guy is in town, and
we go to the movies.
we go to the movies. It's really an amazing community. It's almost a cult. You get the same level of enjoyment that you would if you were being brainwashed. You probably are.
It's a cult within a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Pleb Lab is great. I really enjoy working with these folks. It's the most amazing place to be. And then we also have the Commons down the street with all the folks who run Chain Capital and the Mutiny Boys. And so it's a magical place. I also feel like I caught a glimpse of that magic here in Atlanta when we went to Atlanta BitLab. So shout out to Brian and Alex and the boys over there. They have something incredible over there too. So I hope that they feel at least half as much joy as I do every day working at Pleb Lab. So yeah.
yeah, so for those that witnessed this little moment where even members of the crowd were involved in the panel, that's real. That happens every day at Pleb Lab. There's collaboration, and I feel like every day there's exponential growth from everybody in terms of whatever we're building. Sometimes it's a serious talk, sometimes it's a laugh. During the summer when the AC breaks down, Jim will make sure that the government doesn't stop us from having the office at 65, 68 degrees or whatever, so he'll break in and make sure that we're running it at full blast. And it's those moments really that keeps everybody on track to say, this is why I come to Pleb Lab.
That was when the eco mode.
That's when the eco mode took over. So yeah, we do get along. And one thing I've talked to Carr and others is that we're all so different, but when we're at Pleb Lab, we're all a unit, even though we have very different, diverse projects and backgrounds. So that's why I mentioned that exponential growth is just feeding off of each other's ambition to change the world. So it's real.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, I mean, you can come to Pleb Lab, it's totally open. You just show up at the front door, and we've had people do this, literally someone I've never met show up to the front door, and if you're interested, if you're trying to be involved, we'll be your friends, we'll love you, we'll help level you up. This space is open for that, and it's kind of amazing. And even like years ago on my delivery boys pay, if there would have been a Pleb Lab in my city, I would have paid $250 or whatever for the desk. It would have been worth it. And so that same kind of opportunity is open to anyone. It's pretty fascinating. Like when I showed up to Austin, I thought there'd be a lineup of people like me that are trying to get near the experts, but I kind of just showed up and everyone welcomed me, and that kind of opportunity is still available. Not just at Pleb Lab, at BitLab, and at these other spaces that are starting to pop up around Bitcoin.
Bitcoin Park, Bitcoin Commons.
Bitcoin Park, the Commons, Tampa, and these are all just really exponential opportunities if you want to be a builder. Even if you're not going to be a nerd, a dev, If you're going to be more of a Chad builder like Francisco, you know, whatever you're trying to do, like we can all level each other up, and it's a really cool opportunity if you are trying to participate in that way.
Any other questions from the audience?
So you mentioned the church that you kind of onboarded to. Are they still accepting Bitcoin donations? And if so, would you mind to show them as far as their website how we can donate to them?
I don't know. I'll go check. We'll come back to that. The question was, is the church I onboarded still accepting Bitcoin?
What's the name of the church?
Well, it's the Catholic Church, but the charity was called St. Paul Street Evangelization.
So does the money go to that specific church, or just the Catholic church?
It goes to that specific charity within the church. But I'll find out, and I will give you a thumbs up, dramatically, if they still do.
They have the key.
Any other questions?
Comments, concerns, complaints?
I feel like Chip has a question.
If you took the Pleb Dev course and you feel like you want your money back, feel free to raise your hand.
I'll go ahead and say, on social media, I've seen that your guys' office is super unique. Can you guys talk a little bit more about that? About like the door where you can scan and get in with Lightning? Anything about that that you want to share?
I want to give a shout out to Toshimoto because he is an artistic wizard and he helped decorate the entire office. So his touch is everywhere. So I give a lot of credit to him. Also, yeah, like Car has this initiative of like making Lightning real, having you interact with it and having it interact with you in the real world. So we have the Lightning door where you can pay to open the door. We upgraded that to where now you can buy a day pass and they'll let you in throughout the day. Or if you have a membership, you can just get in for the term of your membership. And now we're trying to expand that even more, where it's like, oh, well now this pass will work in other places and like other Pleb Labs. If you buy a pass there, it'll open this door. So we're trying to like, I still have a background in access control, which I did mention in my origin story. But yeah, so like this stuff's up my alley. I find it fascinating. But yeah, so we're trying to make that happen at Pleb Lab. Like we have like the Lightning box that me and Jim worked on, where it's like a peer-to-peer drop box. You can put cash in and somebody else can come around and pay to open the box and take the cash. We have a guy there named Obi that's also working on some NFC stuff. So we have some exciting things that are going to be coming down the pipe regarding NFC. And it's just like a great place to like hack and build, even on physical things, which is great. And so Car has been very gracious to buy me as many ESP32s as I want. So we have tons of that and tons of other electronics, so that's great as well. And yeah, so it's like such a unique space because like we have, honestly, people from all backgrounds. Like we have people that are developers, software developers, we have people who are designers, we have people that like understand how to submit grant applications and know the grant system. We have people that know the patent system. Like we have workshops all the time. One of the workshops was like the differences between the different licensing that you can choose from on GitHub. Like there's so much knowledge from so many other aspects of life that just flow through Pleb Lab. It's amazing. We have contractors that are like Bitcoin enthusiasts, but they like to build stuff, so they like build radical things. Yeah, I can go on and on. It's just, but what I do want to like leave, the impression I want to leave is that like it's not just Pleb Lab and just like not just our Pleb Lab, but like any Bitcoin space anywhere. It's not just about software developers. It takes a community of all kinds. And so really like whatever your talent may be, if you know a way that you can apply it to Bitcoin, then just please find a way to reach out to other members in your community, try to form a group, try to find a roof that you can meet under, and then just the magic will come.
I got a question. Your Pleb Dev course, is that rolling enrollment or you have like fixed schedules for that?
Right now it's just a Udemy course, so it's just open. And actually all of the source material is on GitHub for free.
Right.
So that'll always be the case, but if you want the full videos and the walkthroughs and all of that, that's through Udemy. It's also on Immerlize as well, so Immerlize, Santos builds that. It's a great way to take the course and pay with Bitcoin. And it's also on Oshi app. Yeah.
Discord.
And yeah, there's a not so secret, kind of secret Pleb Devs Discord, so reach out to me and I'll invite you into that. And there's a bunch of students and me, and so you can ask for help and look at some cool code snippets and connect with some other Pleb devs.
Cool.
So that's a good way to learn more about that. One just like anecdote I was going to say about the lightning door. It was kind of cool. A cool moment for me was during BitBlock Boom recently, like 3 weeks ago or something. You know, we had a bunch of people coming through Pleb Lab, and I was looking at my Zeus wallet, and I was looking at my routes, and I was like, damn, I'm pumping out routes this week. What is happening? And I realized that car needed an inbound channel, so I opened the only channel to the Pleb Lab node. And so all of these people that were coming into Pleb Lab, like I was routing those payments. And it was cool to realize that like I'm seeing these payments, but it actually correlates to like real people that are in the lab right now. So that was kind of just a cool, surreal moment. The connection of the real world and I guess the digital world that I liked a lot.
Great. We'll do final thoughts, and be sure to let everyone know where they can follow you if you are on social or Nostr, so they can reach out to you after this.
Yeah, Bitcoin Pleb Dev everywhere. You can find me, and probably going to start being more public with the Pleb Dev stuff when the second course comes out. I'm not a great marketer, but yeah, final thought, I would just say, you know, like if you want to participate, just do the minimum that you can. Whether you're a builder, designer, writer, whatever it is, just, you know, build a button, build the equivalent of a button. Just do something simple, because it is 1,000 times better to do something small and to be on the path than it is to just be on the sidelines. And I can say that as someone who was on the sidelines for years, and I wish I would have just started sooner and been less afraid of looking dumb, and realize that people want to help you, that they will help you level up. So, yeah.
Final thoughts. So with English being my second language, I like to study the origin of words, and you can fact check me on this, but I believe the word build comes from Old English, old. So I think it's just super cool to think that at the end of the day, bold is taking a risk, right? I want to associate that to Pleb Lab because all of us that show up every day building in Bitcoin, really taking that risk to improve our lives, right? And like you said, it's not just Pleb Lab, it's the whole community, and it seems to be spreading throughout the country and the world. So yeah, keep supporting Pleb Lab. I think it's important for movements like that and the things that we're building. So for me, for example, what I'm building, I think it's extremely important to have it be a success for a country like Mexico, right? So for Pleb Lab, same thing. It's really important to have movements like this succeed for the improvement of the world, really, and builders to be bold.
Are we doing final thoughts or contact info?
Yeah, where can we follow you?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So there's 2 ways to follow me on Twitter. I'm Francisco BTC, and for Yopaki, it's at Yopaki Bitcoin.
I don't have any final thoughts other than if you aren't involved in Bitcoin, just try and get involved in your own way. It's really a space that's open for anyone. And despite all the vitriol on Twitter, really, like, people that you meet in person are very welcoming and very open. So I think we're a very open community, despite your shitcoin pasts. Feel free to come. As far as my contact information, I was looking it up. So on Nostr, you can find me on npub1ggg5. That's G as in the government sucks. So it's cmd@proofzero.work. That's like my NIP5 handle. On Twitter, it's BTC Tech Support. And those are like the best places to find me.
My final thought comes from my friend Michelle, who once wrote an article about mining your failure. So Bitcoin miners, they do a lot of work mining Bitcoin, doing proof of work. And us builders, we have this fear of failure. We fear that if we try to build something and we fail, we're going to have egg on our face because we'll make empty promises or stuff like that. But no, make those failures, build those products, just give it a try. You can do proof of work too by just building and building, and even if you fail a lot of the time, miners don't mine that block a whole lot of the time. But just mine your failure and reap experience from it, and it'll really help you in the long run. So that's my final thought, and then where you can find me, I am super_testnet on Twitter. You can search super testnet, 2 words on your favorite Nostr client, find me there. And on Telegram, I am at super testnet, 1 word. So that's me. Talk to you guys on socials.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Also, go to PlebLab.com for PlebLab socials. It's at PlebLab on Twitter.
It's a
And
Telegram.
remember our Saturday workshops every Saturday, or very, very many Saturdays, we do a workshop, free and open source. And we stream them on YouTube. Jim, can you just tell us a little bit about the workshop? Thank you.